I don't know what to believe, but certainly on paper, we lost nearly 1 million jobs from Joe Biden's failed economy. This is why I've been so frustrated for the past year trying to bring attention to this, that doing it the same old way doesn't work, and there's no excuse. I don't care whether they blame it on COVID, it's post-COVID, there's absolutely no excuse when you're trying to legislate, when you're in the White House trying to make a decision, the Fed's trying to make a decision on interest rates, you need good data. Yeah. You know, the BLS is responsible for inflation numbers and new jobs numbers, so it just makes our job next to impossible, and that's why President Trump fired the current BLS administrator, and now we need somebody new, and that's why I think that Dr. E.J. Antoni will be a great new member to come in there and turn that place upside down and start over.
Okay, so it sounds like you're ready to vote yes.
No, I am. I met with Dr. Antoni. He really did impress me. I asked him how he's going to do this, and there's several problems. One is how they collect the data, and then how do they interpret it as well. So the small businesses are definitely being underrepresented here. We need to introduce some type of software to a package where every business at the end of the month when you're doing your finances, you can just check one box, write in how many numbers of jobs you added or subtracted, and that automatically goes to the BLS. So there's a lot of things that he can do.
Well, okay, that's a good start, because there are a lot of questions about what actually needs to be done as opposed to moving people around. And there have been some people moving, Senator, as you well know. Bloomberg's Molly Smith has a big story out today about staffing issues at the BLS. Of course, that starts with the commissioner. But at this point, a third of high-level roles are currently vacant. How do you fix BLS? How do you improve the quality of data when there's nobody in the building?
Well, look, I think this is a great news. We need to start over. No different than when you fire the head coach. It's great that all the assistant coaches leave as well. We need to create a brand new culture. The only thing worse than no data is bad data. If we don't have any answers, then we'll keep flying by the seat of our pants. So I think that this is good news, and we can go in there and hire the people that are more willing to break that cultural prototype the way they've been doing it.
Interesting. Does this really come down to the response rate, Senator? Is it as simple as that? Because that's the stock answer. You know what? Employers just aren't compelled to respond to the government the way they used to be. Sometimes we get 40%. It's hard to put a real number on that. Or are there other factors inside the organization that need to be hit?
Yeah, so I don't think there's one magic bullet, but I was surprised to find out that part of the data, the Census Bureau was out there also gaining information from households. So I am worried about when one agency collects the data, 15 different hands touch it, then it goes over to BLS and other people touch that data as well. All I know is right now the system's broken. We need to start over, and I think that there's a technology solution to a lot of this, and I can't write that program, but I'm sure there's businesses out there that are going to make a good living on getting this technology right.
Well, absolutely. I suspect that there'll be some interesting news if Mr. Antoni gets the job and gets rolling on all of this. Interesting news on who might be hired and how these contracts are doled out. Senator, I have to remind everybody, as I said in the outset here, that you're a physician and you're Doc Marshall to a lot of folks on Capitol Hill. So we were paying close attention in that hearing with RFK Jr. last week. You've delivered 5,000 babies in your career, which I found incredible to learn about you today, Senator. And here you find yourself working alongside 99 babies in the Senate, which is something to think about as well. Are you concerned? I saw you in that hearing. I don't know what you're laughing at right now, but I saw you in that hearing with Secretary Kennedy. Do you worry about the loosening of guidelines around COVID vaccines?
I don't actually. I think the whole goal of Secretary Kennedy is to bring transparency and trust back to the CDC. That Secretary Kennedy, myself, we believe in parents, that you can make your own decisions for your children, that not every person needs every vaccine. I think the COVID vaccine is very controversial. There's people I would recommend it for. There's other that the benefits don't outweigh the risk, that by now we've all had COVID 4 or 5 times, so we have our own natural immunity. And I think the emphasis here is we want to give all the truth, all the transparency to parents, to doctors, to whoever the adults are in the room that are making that decision, and then do their very best with that, because a vaccine is a drug. I am concerned about 76 jabs. I'm not sure any child needs 76 jabs between birth and the time they're old enough to vote.
How about mRNA? There seems to have been a cloud over this technology since Secretary Kennedy moved into Health and Human Services. A lot of folks think it's the answer, that it could in fact bring a cure for cancer. How should we be thinking about mRNA technology aside and separate from COVID, Senator?
Right. So I do think there's the opportunity for other uses of this vaccine, and I have every faith that the private sector is going to take this technology and run with it. We have spent billions and billions, tens, maybe hundreds of billions on this mRNA vaccine, but what we know is it's very short-lived. The type of process it is, it only builds up immunity for several months. I think instead we should turn to focus to antivirals. We've learned from our friends over our veterinarians that vaccines seldom work. You can't quite make one quick enough, but if we had an antiviral, that would be working. And more importantly, we need to be addressing our own immune system to respond to these viruses. You think about who COVID killed, it was people with diabetes, people whose immune systems weren't right. So I think through proper nutrition, exercise, healthy lifestyles, we can build up our own immunity as well. There's a place for vaccines, don't get me wrong. I think the polio vaccine was incredible. MMR, DTaP, I think there's some really good vaccines out there, but not every person needs every vaccine.
Where are you on the department? Do you still trust the HHS to provide guidance specifically to children to keep them healthy?
Absolutely, I do. And I think that we're going to say when we don't know, we don't know. And I think there's so much we truly don't understand. We don't understand the interaction of these 76 jabs, how it impacts that immune system going forward. I'm glad that we can start talking to parents. Why does your baby, who needs a hepatitis vaccine on day number 1? And if I could, like you said, I delivered a baby most every day for 25 years of my life. We tested every one of those moms for hepatitis. If she was negative, she's not doing IV drugs, she's in a stable monogamous relationship, she's not living with anybody with hepatitis, there's zero chance that baby is going to get hepatitis when it's born. On the other hand, there's some other babies that do need that hepatitis vaccine. I just want to inform parents, give doctors good information as well, and then let them make that decision whether they think their baby needs a hepatitis vaccine on day number 1. We have no idea what it's doing to that baby's immune system.
Doctor, what's the prescription for funding the government? Or are we going to shut down at the end of the month? It looks like there are fewer than a dozen legislative days here, and I feel like you've seen this movie before.
Yeah, we have. We might as well just do the continuing resolution, the short gap measure today. Chuck Schumer's never going to let us take that funding through the floor, the appropriate process. My hat's off to Senator Susan Collins, the chairperson of that Appropriations Committee. She has 8 of the 12 buckets of money done through committee, super majorities, but Chuck won't let his people free to vote for that on the floor. So we might as well do the continuing resolution, then let's get on with nominations and other very important matters.
You go through the end of the year and do a full year CR, just bite the whole thing off.
Yeah, we're going to risk wrestle about that all day long. I would sure like for it to go through to next January or February, but I don't see the Democrats giving in on that. We'll wrestle about how long that's going to last. I would probably take a year-long one because I think at the end of the day that's less spending for the federal government.